China and the US have amassed incredible armies that are stocked with the best equipment and weapons that money can buy. But whether there will actually be a shooting war between them remains to be seen. The main question on everyone's minds is, who would win if there was such a war? Both sides are extremely impressive on paper, but what they bring to the fight varies in quality. What kind of short-range and long-range weapons do they possess? Whose snipers are deadlier, and what are they armed with? How do both countries' main battle tanks stack up against each other? What about air force and naval power, and more non-traditional ways of fighting, like cyber warfare? And of course, we can't overlook the ultimate game-changer, nuclear capabilities. Who has the edge when it comes to weapons, China or the United States? Let's dive in. More often than not, wars are not won by missiles or satellites. They are won by men on the ground who are willing to commit acts of extreme violence in order to bring victory for their side. Going into battle, you want your troops to be outfitted with the best weapons they can have. It's the same story now as it was with the Greek hoplites and Roman legionnaires. So what are the US and Chinese troops on the ground armed with? Starting with the US, the main battle rifle that the ground troops of the US Army and US Marine Corps are armed with is the M4A1 Carbine. It should be noted that the US military is currently in the process of replacing the M4 with the Sig Sauer XM7, which boasts a lot of improvements over its predecessor but is being rolled out and tested slowly. So as of this video's production, the US military's main battle rifle is still the M4A1. But what sets the M4 apart as such a standout weapon? The M4 has been the US military's bread and butter for over 2 decades. Battle-tested in the streets of Iraq, the hills of Afghanistan, and many other countless places around the world, it's proved time and again to be reliable, accurate, and deadly. Shooting a 5.56mm round from a 30-round magazine, the M4 is a lightweight carbine that's gas-operated, air-cooled, and magazine-fed. Weighing in at 2.5 kilograms when fully loaded, it's light enough to be carried into combat with a full pack. But that's not all. It also features a selective fire rate and collapsible stock, with an effective firing range of 600 meters and a maximum cyclic fire rate of 970 rounds a minute. The M4 allows the shooter to be efficient and accurate in both short and long-range situations. While the M4 is a favorite among soldiers and Marines, it isn't without its problems. Since it uses the gases expelled from the previous round to put the next one into place, after a while it can overheat and jam or misfire. Not great in a combat situation. Soldiers also noted that the aluminium magazines can dent rather easily and not function properly. They also said that when fighting in places with lots of sand, aka Iraq, the M4 requires near constant cleaning and maintenance to stay in fighting shape. However, its next-generation variant, the M4A1, sought to build on its predecessor and features a fully automatic fire rate, a more constant trigger pull, steel or polymer magazines, and a heavier barrel for improved accuracy and durability. Turning our gaze to the PLA, what's their weapon of choice, and how does it stack up against the M4A1? Enter the QBZ-95, born from the shortcomings of its predecessors. In 1991, the Gulf War kicked off and was almost over as quickly as it started. Coalition forces from the United States and other countries absolutely demolished the Iraqi army of Saddam Hussein, many of whom had been using Chinese-made weapons. This defeat was so decisive that the Chinese generals in the PLA began to plan for their own future. Recognizing that their current battle rifles, the Type 68 and Type 56, were quickly becoming outdated, so they strove to create something new. Introduced in 1997, it is a gas-operated, rotating bolt assault rifle with a bullpup design, meaning that the clip is behind the trigger. Part of the unique design is the striker firing mechanism. This mechanism makes it so the hammer, firing pin, and bolt are all in one piece. While this allows for easier cleaning and maintenance, it's also brought on some mechanical problems with the rifle. The QBZ-95 weighs in at around 2.9 kilograms when fully loaded and also has a 30-round capacity magazine like the M4. It has an effective range of about 400 meters and shoots at a cyclic rate of 650 rounds per minute. With selective fire available, the QBZ-95 is a versatile rifle capable of handling any situation. The QBZ-95 also has a couple of variants, including a light machine gun and a carbine. The QBZ-95 shoots a round unique to the Chinese military with specifications listed at 5.8 by 42 millimeters. It allegedly has an advantage over traditional 5.56 ammunition because it has a greater energy output due to it being heavier than the 5.56. The 5.8 has 77 grains of gunpowder compared to 63 in the 5.56. China keeps this information about this ammunition pretty secret, so there aren't a ton of reports out there about it. Sounds a little scary, but on the other hand, China also has not fought a serious war since 1979, so the 5.8 by 42mm round has not undergone extensive testing in combat either. Some of the known disadvantages are clunky magazine insertion due to its bullpup design, and its selective fire switch is in an awkward position as well. Overall, the QBZ-95 is a capable and lethal battle rifle when in the right hands, but time will tell how well it fares in the prolonged heat of battle. When comparing these two, it's quite difficult, as we do not have the same level of technical information about the QBZ-95 as we do the M4, nor do we have years of battlefield experience to look to. We'll give the edge to the M4 here, with its slightly better range, fire rate, and tried-and-true field experience. Moving a little higher up the food chain, we have light machine guns. As mentioned when discussing the M4, the US military is in a transition period when it comes to its squad-level firearms. The M249 squad automatic weapon is slowly being phased out in favor of the new XM250 from Sig Sauer. Since it's not yet in widespread use, we'll focus on the workhorse of the US military, the M249. The M249 Squad Automatic Weapon, or SAW, is a gas-operated, portable, belt-fed machine gun that fires the standard NATO round of 5.56. The operator can engage targets out to 800 meters and comes equipped with either 30-round magazines or 200-round boxes of belt-fed rounds. With a fire rate of up to 800 rounds a minute, the SAW comes equipped with a quick change feature for the barrel. This allows the gunner to keep a solid rate of fire without having to wait for the barrel to cool down. Seeing extensive use in Iraq and Afghanistan, the SAW has rained down typhoons of lead on insurgents for decades now. While it certainly has positives and performed well on the battlefield, it also has shortcomings. Troops often found the SAW heavy and clunky when maneuvering in combat. At 41 inches in length and 22 pounds when fully loaded, the SAW can become cumbersome during firefights or over long stretches of movement. In addition to this, there have been some concerns as to the accuracy of the SAW at extended ranges past 500 yards. Because of this, the US Marine Corps has replaced the SAW with the M27 Infantry Automatic Rifle (IAR), which is magazine-fed and shoots the same caliber as the SAW but has a much better accuracy and is lighter to carry. Another complaint about the SAW was that its 5.56 round was becoming outdated with continuing innovations in body armor technology. As body armor gets tougher, the 5.56 isn't as powerful as it used to be. This issue is being fixed with the next generation light machine gun the Army is rolling out, the Sig Sauer XM250. The XM250 shoots a .277 Fury, which is smaller in size to a 7.62 round, guaranteed to pack a bigger punch than the 5.56. So as the US military shifts away from the SAW, they will see some major advantages on the battlefields of the future. Switching gears and looking at the Chinese version, the QJS-161. Lightweight, accurate, and versatile, the 161 is a great light machine gun. Introduced in 2022 and steadily rolled out to the PLA troops, the QJS-161 is gas-operated and utilizes an open-bolt design. It shoots the Chinese-made 5.8 by 42mm round, the same as the QBZ-95, but the rounds are carried in a fabric container, which helps keep the overall weight down considerably. The fabric container is also an improvement over older models' drum magazines, which were heavier and more prone to jam. When empty, the 161 weighs in at only 11 pounds. This lightweight design is a considerable advantage over the SAW. There's not much data on the performance and ballistics of this gun yet, due to it being fairly new and the Chinese tendency towards secrecy in matters such as this. Overall, we'll give the advantage here to the 161, as it's much more lightweight and maneuverable than the SAW, although it seems pretty clear that in the near future, the M27 and XM250 might become equal or even surpass it. Now, any ground force needs both short-range and long-range weapons. Snipers have become a key asset on modern battlefields, both for the damage they can cause the enemy physically and psychologically, but also for their ability to gather intelligence. The US military uses a variety of rifles with its snipers, but we're going to focus on the Barrett Mk22 PSR, as it's currently in use by the United States Army and Marine Corps. This weapon comes with a lot of varieties in barrel length, weight, and even the caliber it can shoot. Weighing between 13 and 15 pounds, and with an overall length between 42 and 49 inches, the rifle can be customized to meet the needs of the mission. In addition to this, the stock is collapsible and the suppression system is removable, making it even more compact when needed. This will be especially useful for airborne troops and special operators, as they will have a rifle ready for every type of combat environment. In addition to this, the bolt-action rifle can be adapted to fire a variety of calibers from its 10-round magazine, including the NATO standard 7.62, .300 Norma Magnum, .338 Norma Magnum, .300 Win Mag, and others. Its maximum effective range comes in just under a mile at 1,600 yards. While this rifle has undergone extensive testing by all branches that will use it, it's yet to see significant combat use. Nevertheless, the precise and deadly rifle will be a terror on the battlefields of the future for years to come. Looking at the PLA arsenal, their snipers are equipped with a few different sniper rifles, but one of their main ones is the CS-LR-35, military designation QBU-202 and QBU-203. Weighing in between 14 and 16 pounds and between 47 and 51 inches in length, the CS-LR-35 is a superb example of a modern sniper rifle. There are multiple variants of this rifle with different modifications, and it can even shoot two different calibers, the 7.62 by 51mm NATO or 8.6 by 70mm .338 Lapua Magnum. With an effective range between 1,300 and 1,600 yards depending on the caliber and a folding stock, the CS-LR-35 should more than cover the needs of an infantry platoon or special forces unit. Like its US counterpart, the CS-LR-35 is fairly new and has yet to see any combat, so given this and the similarities between the two, we'll call it a tie. Moving up the food chain of death and destruction again, we find ourselves at anti-tank weapons. Anti-tank weapons have been around since there were tanks to shoot at. Beginning in World War I, people needed a way to knock out the armored behemoths prowling the battlefield and used whatever was at their disposal, and that usually meant grenades or some kind of improvised explosive device. From World War II onward, we saw shoulder-mounted rocket launchers being used against tanks, and since that shift, the strategy has been much the same. Modern militaries today utilize both guided and unguided anti-tank rockets. For our purposes, we're going to look at the guided rockets as they're more advanced. Let's first take a look at one of Uncle Sam's most effective inventions, the feared and respected Javelin. The FGM-148 Javelin, or Advanced Anti-Tank Weapons System Medium, AWSEM, is an American-made man-portable anti-tank system. It was first produced in 1996 and has seen extensive combat in the global war on terror. In recent years, it has been on the front lines with Ukrainian forces as they battle back against Russian armor. It's been a key asset for them as it's helped knock out countless Russian tanks and armored vehicles. It is what they call a fire-and-forget launcher, as after the operator fires the rocket, they do not have to do anything else for it to strike the target. The rocket will lock on and guide itself there. The warhead itself is a high-explosive anti-tank warhead, or HEAT, and is capable of taking down modern armor using a top-down attack, meaning that the warhead strikes the tank where the armor is typically the thinnest, on the top. It can also be used to take out buildings or other fortifications using a frontal attack. The Javelin, when ready to fire, weighs about 50 pounds, so it's not something you can just casually carry around in the middle of a firefight. You have to move with a purpose. Able to be fired by just one person, it's an extremely valuable tool when it comes to anti-armor. Just talk to some of the Ukrainian soldiers. It has an incredibly impressive range of fire, with 2,500 meters being the standard, but under favorable conditions, it's even been successfully tested at a range of 4,700 meters. Now, while this is extremely impressive, it's not a given that this could be achieved in combat. Either way, it's a formidable weapon that will be used on many battlefields around the world. Looking at what the PLA has to offer, they have what is essentially a copy of the Javelin. Developed in 2014 and distributed to PLA units in 2021, the HJ-12 is basically just a Chinese-made version of the Javelin. It's capable of all the same things, is operated the same as well, and even weighs the same. In terms of range, they are very similar too. The only real difference comes with the diameter of the tube itself. The Javelin has a diameter of 114mm and the HJ-12 has a diameter of 135mm. This means that the HJ-12 is likely to be able to fire a heavier warhead capable of greater destructive power. For that reason alone, we'll give the advantage here to the HJ-12. While squad-level weapons are great in a firefight and often can handle whatever is thrown at them, sometimes you need to bring in a heavyweight fighter, that being armor. Tanks have been around in some form or another since the early 20th century, seeing their first combat use in World War I. The main US battle tank is the M1 Abrams, and it's seen combat consistently since the 90s. Even now, shipments of Abrams tanks are being sent to the besieged Ukrainian forces. The Abrams is 26 feet long, not counting the gun barrel, and has a width of 12 feet. The Abrams is one of the heaviest tanks in service, weighing over 70 tons. It boasts a variety of features that make it the incredible fighting machine it is, including a multi-fuel turbine engine, cobham composite armor with upgraded models even having depleted uranium, a computer-controlled fire system, as well as multiple improvements for crew safety. In terms of weaponry, the later models are now equipped with a 105mm cannon and multiple 50 caliber machine guns. The cannon has an effective range of between 3,000 and 4,000 meters. The depleted uranium being added to the later models drastically increased the overall weight of the tank, as well as also increasing the protection. Additional upgrades over the years have seen reactive armor added as well. The Type 99 is very similar to the Abrams. It's 3 feet shorter at 23 feet and lighter, weighing in around 64 tons. Being smaller and lighter might be seen as a disadvantage, but this means that they are able to be faster and more agile. The Type 99 is faster than the Abrams with a top speed of 50 miles per hour compared to the Abrams 42. It's also more fuel efficient, able to go about 311 miles before needing to refuel. The Abrams can only go 265. In terms of armor composition, the Chinese guard this secret very closely, so little is known. Although it is thought that the Type 99 armor is similar to the Abrams in general, it's also thought to have an advanced explosive armor system as well. Explosive armor systems are key to combating advanced anti-tank and armor-piercing missiles. In terms of armament, the Type 99 has the ZPT-98 cannon, which is similar to a Russian design and comes in at 125mm. It has an effective range of about 3,000 meters. Both tanks can fire a variety of shells from high explosives and armor-piercing rounds to anti-personnel rounds. The Abrams also has something the Type 99 does not: a fourth crew member. This crew member's job is to load the shells. This is done by an autoloader on the Type 99. As it currently stands, the autoloader can load and fire 8 shells a minute. A human in similar conditions has the potential to be faster. So, looking at the Abrams and Type 99, they are both incredibly impressive tanks, but we have to give the edge to the Abrams here. Not only has it proved its efficiency in combat for 20 years, but it also has the edge when it comes to range and fire rate. If we knew more about the Type 99, we may change our answer, but until more is revealed or we see them go head-to-head, the Abrams is the winner, although it's close. Shifting gears and going up to the sky, let's look at air power. The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II is a 5th-generation aircraft and is incredibly impressive and versatile. Since being developed in 2006 and slowly rolled out to the US military, it's become one of the most expensive aircraft on Earth. The F-35 features unmatched stealth, sensor fusion, the most powerful engine out there for fighters, and the most advanced radar system in the world. The pilots are even being equipped with an augmented reality helmet that improves their awareness and effectiveness in combat. I think it's safe to say we're close to Star Wars level weapons here. The F-35 has a wingspan of 35 feet, a length of 51 feet, and a maximum speed of about 1,200 miles per hour, or Mach 1.6. Its single Pratt & Whitney F135 PW100 engine also boasts a thrust of 40,000 pounds and an afterburner for supersonic flight and quick acceleration. The F-35 has a combat range of about 1,380 miles and a ceiling of 55,000 feet. In terms of weapons, the F-35 can support a payload of up to 18,000 pounds. If it's in the configuration known as Beast Mode, yes, it's really called that, the F-35 can support up to 22,000 pounds of payload. It has a 25mm cannon, as well as up to 6 missiles, 8 bombs, and 4 laser-guided bombs. Not too shabby. The Chinese counterpart is also a 5th-generation aircraft and is known as the Chengdu J-20. This was the first Chinese aircraft that was put on public display when it was unveiled, although like everything else, the Chinese are very secretive about its specifics. What we do know is that it's a twin-engine aircraft with 2 Shenyang WS turbofans and also has an afterburner. Its top speed is around Mach 2.25 or 1,725 miles per hour, which makes it much faster than the F-35. It also has a combat range of about 1,100 miles and a ceiling of 66,000 feet. For weapons, the J-20 features a similar loadout in terms of precision-guided munitions, but the real difference is that the J-20 does not have a cannon like the F-35. That means that if the J-20 were to get into a dogfight, all it would have is air-to-air missiles. So who would win if such a dogfight were to happen? The answer is clear, it's the F-35. The F-35 has better stealth capabilities, and while the J-20 is faster, the F-35 has a smaller radar cross-section, which means it's less detectable. So the F-35 could be locked on and ready to fire before you even know they're there. Another major disadvantage for the J-20 is the lack of cannon we just mentioned, so the F-35 has the advantage in dogfights. Even though it seems like the F-35 has the technical edge, it very well could come down to the skill of the two pilots. Diving into naval forces, let's take a look at who has better destroyer-class ships in the US Navy or the Navy of the People's Liberation Army. A major undertaking by the US Navy in recent years was building 3 of the Zumwalt-class destroyers. These next-generation destroyers are among the most advanced the Navy has to offer, with state-of-the-art stealth systems that allow it to move like a ghost through the water, as well as a brand-new propulsion system and wave-piercing tumble-home hull. According to the US Navy, the Zumwalt-class destroyers are the largest and most technologically advanced surface combatants in the world. Built by Bath Iron Works, it features an integrated power system of 2 Rolls-Royce MT-30 gas turbines with 2 auxiliary generators. It's over 600 feet in length and has a displacement of about 16,000 metric tons. It can reach speeds of over 30 knots and has a crew of about 200. In terms of weapons, it has 2 30mm gun systems, 2 155mm advanced gun systems, and 80 vertical launch cells for a variety of missiles. It's capable of many different offensive and defensive capabilities, including long-range precision strike, anti-air warfare (AAW), anti-submarine warfare (ASW), and anti-surface warfare (ASUW). It even has the capability to launch an MH-60R helicopter. It should be noted that for the 155mm advanced gun systems, the rounds are extremely expensive, about $1 million apiece, and the Navy really has no interest in getting any more than it already has, so these guns are somewhat outdated already. All in all, the Zumwalt-class destroyers are extremely impressive, but how do they stand up to the PLA Navy? The closest thing to it is the Type 055 destroyer. The Type 055 is about 590 feet long and 60 feet wide. With a full load, it has a displacement between 13,000 and 14,000 tons. The Type 055 has 4 QC-280 gas turbines, each providing about 23 to 28 megawatts of energy. The design is fairly conventional, with some exposed guns and sensors. This is the opposite of the Zumwalt. Everything is enclosed, however, the Type 055 is superior in its radar technology. The Type 055 has 112 vertical launch cells, firing a variety of missiles and torpedoes. It also features a 130mm gun on the bow, as well as several other close-in weapon systems for a last line of defense. Overall, the two ships are similar, but will have different missions. The Type 055 will focus on air and sea defense, while the Zumwalts will be focused more on targets on land and firing from close to the shore. So while they might be similar in some respects, they are for different purposes, and we cannot give a clear edge to one or the other. Turning from traditional weapons and looking at something more unconventional, and something that always seems to be in the news, cyber warfare. Obviously, we don't have a ton of information about what all goes into the cyber warfare departments or what they're capable of. They'd be pretty bad at their jobs if you could just read that info online. The US Cyber Command was founded in 2010 and seeks to unify the direction of cyberspace operations while continuing to bolster the Department of Defense's cyber capabilities overall. Its mission statement reads, US Cybercom plans, coordinates, integrates, synchronizes, and conducts activities to direct the operations and defense of specified Department of Defense information networks, and prepare to, and when directed, conduct full-spectrum military cyberspace operations in order to enable actions in all domains, ensure US allied freedom of action in cyberspace, and deny the same to our adversaries. Since 2015, the US has added an additional 133 new cyber teams to its arsenal. These include 13 national mission teams to defend against broad cyber attacks, 68 cyber protection teams to defend priority DoD networks and systems against priority threats, 27 combat mission teams to provide integrated cyberspace attacks in support of operational plans and contingency operations, 25 cyber support teams to provide analytic and planning support to the national mission and combat mission teams. Estimates of how many personnel are in Cyber Command range from 6,000 to 20,000. The mission of Cyber Command is to operate both offensively and defensively across the globe, combating malicious actors, counter ransomware attacks, and provide support to the DoD. How do the Chinese stack up in the new front lines of the cyber landscape? Again, everyone is incredibly secretive when it comes to cyber, but what we do know is that the Chinese have multiple units or groups actively engaging in cyber warfare at any given time. Some of these units are within the PLA, some within the government, and other various ones. It was estimated in 2017 that they had between 50 and 100,000 personnel designated as hackers, but who knows whether this is true or not. The Chinese military described their objectives in terms of cyber warfare capabilities as follows: cyberspace situational awareness, cyber defense, support for the country's endeavors in cyberspace, and participation in international cyber cooperation. Who has the advantage? Unless you have top-secret security clearance, I don't think any of us can truly answer that question. So as things continue to unfold, we'll just call this one a draw as well. Last but certainly not least, let's look at the biggest, baddest, and most horrifying weapons of all: nuclear. The US nuclear capabilities on land consist of about 450 launch sites capable of firing the Minuteman III ICBMs, with 14 nuclear-capable submarines and over 60 nuclear-capable heavy bombers. Since tensions with Russia and China continue to climb, the US military is working toward modernizing and upgrading its nuclear defense systems. Overall, it's estimated that the US has about 5,000 warheads in total. For reference, a Minuteman III ICBM is about 60 feet in length, weighs 80,000 pounds, and has a range of 8,700 miles. They're each armed with 3 W62 Mark 12 warheads that each contain over 170 kilotons of TNT. The Chinese nuclear arsenal is estimated by the Pentagon to contain between 400 to 500 warheads, possibly reaching over 1,000 by 2030. Not much information about Chinese capabilities is publicly available, so we can only speculate. Who gets the advantage? It doesn't really matter after the first one detonates. Whether you have 20 or 20,000, it's all downhill after that initial boom. In conclusion, the militaries of the United States and China are extremely technologically advanced, well-trained, and deadly. So who has the edge overall? You can compare them and argue this point or that, but at the end of the day, none of it matters until the troops and equipment meet on the battlefield. Both sides have incredibly impressive troops and hardware, but the US is the only one with recent combat experience, so if any theoretical advantage is to be had, it would be that. Either way, let's just hope that the US and PLA troops never actually meet on the battlefield. A conflict between these two global superpowers would bring about nothing but widespread death and destruction to millions. No one wants that, except maybe the ones selling the weapons. So as tensions continue to escalate, just remembering how many nukes there are in the world might help everyone take a deep breath. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments. Now go and check out the US M1 Abrams versus the Chinese Type 99 tank battle, or click this other video instead.